Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Pointy Not Sharp. Today we're taking a look at the United Arab Emirates or UAE M7 bayonet. Now these bayonets are a little bit of a mystery in the collector's circle because we don't know if they're actually issued to UAE, if they're commercial, if they're reproduction, if they're fantasy pieces, where they come from. We know they come from China, but they're a bit of a mystery and I'll explain that as we go. So if they are made for the UAE, they're made to fit the Caracal Car 816 Sultan rifle, as well as their M16 A4s and possibly their Taiwanese-made T91 rifles, which they've only got 10,000 of and they're used by their special forces. 10,000 is a lot for special forces. I don't know how many special forces they have, but that's huge. Anyway, they're made by China. That's all we know about them. We don't know specifically what company made them, how many they were made, when they were designed. None of that. It's all a mystery. But I'll jump into the history that we do know. So the handle is very much a copy of the OKC M7-B. I don't know exactly when that came out, but that's a modern variant of the M7 bayonet. So it would be relatively recently. We're not looking at the 1980s, I don't think. Now, looking at them, initially people are of the belief that these are an official UAE bayonet, and I can see why people would think that, because on one side they're marked UAE, and on the reverse they have the seal of the armed forces just here for the UAE armed forces. So they certainly look like something made for the UAE, and who's going to go out of their way to make a fantasy piece or a commercial version of something like this? So it seems that it's unlikely that someone would go out and make that. So surely this would have to be an official bayonet, but no one to date has been able to find a photograph of a UAE soldier with a bayonet like this. So we really don't know. Now, my personal belief, something I've noticed that China does a fair bit, is they'll design something, it won't be fit for Chinese purpose, and they'll produce them for other countries. Other countries may or may not accept them and buy them, and then they'll just sell them commercially. A prime example of that is the Type 87 bayonet that I've done a previous video on. So those were a Chinese trial in the 1980s, unsuccessful, so they started selling them commercially because they had the tooling in place to make them, so why not make a little bit of money? So if I had to guess, I have no idea whether or not these were ever in service with the UAE, whether the UAE actually accepted them. Possibly they were made for a UAE trial, who knows? Maybe they were a product made targeting the UAE that the UAE did or didn't purchase, and once China had the tooling in place, they said, well, screw it, let's make money on what we've got and we'll keep producing them as a commercial bayonet. That is my guess, and I think that's kind of supported by the quality of the bayonet, because it looks really good until you hold it in your hand. It's jiggles, everything is loose, not very well made, feels very cheap. Feels like it's made of very cheap metal, and it's just got a really crappy black paint over the top of it. And if you look at the cut on the top of the true edge, it doesn't line up with the point. So it's just small little details like that that really scream poor quality, poorly made. A few people have mentioned that these were possibly, the scabs were possibly made in the US, and UAE were unable to buy M7 bayonets from the US for whatever reason. So they bought the scabbards from the US and procured the bayonets from China. But again, that's completely speculative. We don't know. We'll jump into the construction of the bayonet, and it is pretty much just a US M7. I've got a US M7 here in an Australian scabbard for comparison, but you can see the differences. So first off, the blade profile, it's a little bit different. So the blade on an actual M7 is a tiny bit longer, not much, and the false edge comes down approximately halfway down the blade, where they're up here, possibly only about a quarter, not too far. This one has a sharpened false edge, just like this one here, and you'll see that the grind of the blade goes up further than halfway, whether here it only comes halfway up the blade. The cross guards, again, very similar. This one has a thicker cross guard than this one here, but this one feels a lot stronger than this one. So cheap, crappy Chinese metal, possibly even aluminium. I've got a magnet to check. And just black paint over the top of it. Then we have our OKC M7B type of grip. It looks really nice. And yeah, it feels pretty good as well. It looks like it's just two molded pieces that are connected in the middle. No rivets or screws, so it's probably just glued in place, so who knows how strong that is. And then just a classic pommel, but instead of being peened, it looks like it's screwed on with a hex screw. But that appears to work just fine. Move the bayonet out of the way. Get a scabbard in place. Now, people are saying that it's a US produced scabbard because it has the US assembly markings on it. I've never seen one of these with the markings on the front. Usually the markings are on the back, but I'm not saying that it's not American for that reason. What I find really suspicious about it though is the frog. So this one here, it's a proper one, a nice thick canvas frog. Whether this is just like half the width. It's really thin, really flimsy, really light. I feel like I could tear that with my finger if I really wanted to. But it is an M10 style of scabbard, just the polymer body, got the leg strap down the bottom, frog, belt loop, hilt strap, and M10 wire hanger assembly. Most of the US ones are black as well. This is the only one I had handy. It's an Australian one in green and camo. So that's really the construction of the bayonet. Finally, we'll jump on the markings, and there are a couple actually, which is quite nice. I do like some markings. So first off, on the right handle, we have our UAE stamp on the rear of the handle. UAE obviously standing for United Arab Emirates. Then on the right, on the left, sorry, we have the seal of the armed forces just here. So I'm pretty sure it's a falcon with the 7 stars above it, 7 stars representing the 7 member states of the UAE. Then the only other marking we have on the bayonet is here on the ricasso, in white, we have China. Not all of these have that China marking, only some of them do. But that's obviously how we know they were manufactured by China. Now the scabbard is where we have a real wealth of markings. So first off, we've got our M10 for M10 pattern scabbard just here. Then we also have some mold numbers. So we've got 3 in there and nothing in that one, which is interesting because an actual confirmed one doesn't have those. Then on the front, we've got a number of markings. So we've got our 19204. My understanding is that's a marking that means it belongs to the US Army, the Rock Island Arsenal number. Then we have the assembly number 8448476. That's like the part number for the scabbard. That's the number that denotes this is an M10 scabbard. And then we have a manufacturer and a manufacturer code, and we've got 9A148 or I48, I'm not sure exactly which one it is. It's an I. And that manufacturer code is for Norcatec LLC out of New York. And they're a company that they make a lot of things. So they make spare parts for military aircraft. They make naval equipment as well as armored vehicles. So they've got a lot of stuff they do for the US Armed Forces. But that's really all there is to say about this bayonet. There's not much more that's known. I'm hoping something else does come out, like maybe we find photographs of UAE soldiers or maybe records of them being used in a trial or something like that. But as it stands right now, we don't know much more about them. Anyway, guys, that's all I've got to say about it. If you've enjoyed the video, please drop a like and consider subscribing to the channel. I bring you a new bayonet every week, and hate for you to miss out. That's all I've got. Thanks for watching.